And we're back here live from Poppas. I'm Steve, Big Papa Herbert here. And I got Mike Garrity, my co-host. On the race review tonight, we have Trevor Boyce from Boys Will Be Boys Racing. He's been doing some cup stuff, and I think he's going to go truck racing. How we doing, Trevor?
Good, good. Thanks for letting me come, and thanks for everything that's happening. And good hot dogs.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, best lunch in town, right?
That's right.
Okay, shameless plug. Tell us about what's going on. What have you been doing this year? You went cup racing, right? Nextel or
Sprint
Cup.
Same thing, kind of.
And what we did the day that Richard Petty shut down Petty Enterprise was there's a room for some independent teams to come. So we just shut down our trucking business in Canada and come down to start putting a team together, and bought some Canassi cars and bought some Elliott motors, and basically we went to 5 races with no success so far because a lot more guys had the same idea I did, and there's a lot more cars out there than NASCAR thought, because I flew down to NASCAR in December and talked to them about this idea, and they said, wonderful, we need people like you. And unfortunately, like I said, a lot of guys had the same idea. So the races are hard to make, but our program's just getting good enough now that we can make races, and I've been racing a little bit. I'm going to run a Craftsman truck this week in Memphis just to get some more track time in these big heavy cars, because come from little light cars, and the transition to the cup cars was very, very difficult, which surprised me a little bit. So the truck is kind of a transition to get back into heavy cars.
Yeah.
Well, they say the truck is closer to the car than the Busch cars.
Yeah, I mean it has to be because it's got a big blade. It's got the splitter on the front. It's a wider or a flatter right side with a taller cab. So I mean it's going to be a lot closer. So what were you racing up north? Were you racing mostly like limited lates and late models and stuff
back
like
home
that?
in series that's very strong is open wheel modifieds.
Okay.
I had a late model up there, but mostly we run modifieds. Run a little bit of sprint car racing, and but again, it wasn't strong. There's 100 and some modifieds in Western Canada, so it's a good strong series. So that's basically what we did in the last. And then we'd always travel a bit, go to Salt Lake and to Vegas, and West Coast racing, California racing.
So you went from the west side of Canada to the southeast side of America.
Unfortunately, you have to go where the racing is.
That's some extreme weather change.
That is,
right?
yeah.
I'd also been down here in the 80s, in the early 90s. I run about 120 cup races, so
cool.
I was familiar with the idea.
You've got some experience then.
Yeah, but the cars are a lot different now. The big difference is the corner speeds are so great now compared to what they were in the 80s and 90s. These radial tires, and that's what the big transition's being, getting the corner speeds.
Sure, definitely.
So you're going to go to Memphis on the truck race that's coming up.
Right, I'm going to drive J.J. Yaley's my teammate, so it should be pretty decent stuff. I drove the truck up at Michigan. Didn't have too good of luck. We had ignition problems. Actually, that thing wouldn't start at the start of the race, and we push-started it, but the ignition went bad, and I only ran like 18 laps. But we're going to give it a heck this weekend.
So is your plan to get more comfortable with the heavy cars back to where you were and then jump in the cup car yourself? Because I know you've had some other people driving the cup car to try to qualify it in. Is that the ultimate plan?
That's kind of the plan. Now, also my son is up in Canada racing dirt modifieds.
Okay.
And our eventual plan is to have him come down here and work with the team.
Gotcha.
And he's going to run some Busch races this year, not to ruin his rookie status, and hopefully run him for Rookie of the Year next year.
Wow.
So,
and is that going to be with the family team, or do you have plans with another team to run him?
Well, we're going to run him a few races with Randy McDonald's team this year, but the eventual plan is keep it in the family.
Are you going to run in the 81 car?
Yes.
Now, I tell you what, Bobby Hamilton's gotten in that car and really helped it to turn. Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like that's a pretty competitive car anymore.
Well, that's bad because maybe they'll keep Bobby now.
Well, no, it seems like they've put other drivers in there, and I know Randy's just trying to find, whatever works. So
Randy's just trying to find the right money deal, and as we're all in this business, I mean, that's
all about that.
That's what it all takes, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can do it with no money. The more money you have, the better you run it.
Now, you made one race this year, right, in the Cup Series?
Well, no, we run the open race. David Starr drove the car.
Very cool.
Did a very good job, and we were really fast at Dover too, like real competitive, and went out to qualify, and the motor just wouldn't run, and the fuel line actually collapsed. So a little bit of bad luck, but then we just haven't. David Starr hasn't been able to make the fit, and I'm not good enough right now to make the races, so we're just trying to work it out. Now David's going to drive it to Indianapolis. We worked that deal out.
Great.
Okay.
So that's a big race to get into.
You're a startup team, so you're not going to be winning the Daytona 500 the first week, but you get these little things behind you, you'll be all right.
Well, we think
you
so.
just, you got plenty of experience, so, and I was at your shop today. We did a little film in there. Matt and I went over, and we had about 3 cars in there, 3, call them,
Car
COT.
today's?
Car today, yeah. 3 car todays, or car tomorrow cars there, and they look like they're Ganassi cars, right?
Yeah. Well, we bought the best over-the-counter stuff you can buy.
Right.
I mean, you can't beat the Hendricks and the Roushes without just mega money.
No.
But we went and bought really good cars. We went and bought really good motors. We bought really good pieces and parts. So we're as good as any of the other independents. We're as good as the Tommy Baldwin teams.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of those guys in, and they were all remarked that the cars when they bought them are real good cars, but they're getting these things so light now that they're adding 250, 300 pounds of lead. And I know the first generation car, you were lucky to get 50, 75 pounds in. So like you said, it's just money, and it's it seems really difficult because these cars today, they have you in such a tight box with the limiting of the front travel and with the way that the template fits that it's just getting to it. Have you had a chance to drive one of the new cars?
Yeah, I drove it at Phoenix, and I drove it at Richmond, and I tried Dover. But at Dover, we put David in the car because I just wasn't getting up to speed.
Gotcha. What do you think about it compared to, I know you said the corner speeds were a little bit higher, but what do you think of it compared to what you raced back in 80 and 90?
Well, the thing that I haven't figured out with the radial tires myself is how far they can go. I mean, you think you're going like to the edge, and then somebody blows by you at 100 mile an hour. And you just, and trying to make yourself go to that next level, and, without wrecking race cars,
And is that because that bias plate, when it gets out of shape, it's a lot easier to bring it back?
Yeah, you could feel the tire. These radials, you can't feel what they're doing, or I haven't got to that point. So I haven't, and even in the truck race in Michigan, I didn't feel like I got all the grip out of the car or out of the truck. There was still more left. I just hadn't got there yet.
Gotcha.
And it's going to take time, and maybe I'm too old too. I mean, that's not beyond the possibility.
Well, I don't know. If you ask Mark Martin, I don't think there is a too old right now.
Mark's a little different. He'd been doing it all along.
Right.
But to come back at 50 years old, maybe it's too difficult. We'll know in the next few races. We'll keep trying and run a few more truck races. And if we can't, it's okay. There's lots of young drivers out there that need opportunities.
Nothing wrong with being a team owner and
That's
reaping
right.
the benefits of that.
That's not too bad. Your next star, now he's the greatest race car driver that I've ever seen. And your next star, and that's honest to God truth. And he's a Canadian kid. I didn't know until a couple years ago. And the first time I watched him at Daytona, he just amazed me. He won 7 out of 8 nights there.
Wow.
And he was second the one night. He slipped. He let Kenny Wallace beat him. But he is, honest to God, a great driver, and he'll go somewhere in this business.
He's a great guy. I had him on my radio show last week, and he was a great guest.
Yeah. He does everything right. So,
Well, that may be the next driver.
well, he won't
Boys
drive
Will
for
Be
a
Boys.
poor team like me. He wants to drive for Roush or Hendricks.
Well, cool. Well, thank you very much for
Thanks
coming
for
on.
coming on,
Good
Trevor.
luck in Memphis. Good luck building everything up, and we hope that you'll come back in after a couple more races and tell us how things are going.
Great, thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.